Welcome to the Real Estate Time Freedom Show by InvestorFuse. This is your host, Carlos Zamora. It is such a pleasure to have Raul Bolufe on here. You can't spell the U without Raul Bolufe. I'll tell you that right now. He is in Miami. I just had my Hurricanes jacket on, showing it to him. What's going on, dude?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
A pleasure, man. A random email came in from you to the
you got the you on there. I love it.
Random email came in from Raul, I think from like a SendFuse email or something like that, and he was very gracious with his time. When I responded, I was like, "Hey, man, can I get you for a podcast? I know you've been doing really, really well." And I was even telling him before we went on air here, I heard one of the very first podcasts, or first time I heard of him, was a Sean Terry podcast like 3 years ago. I was getting shots up at the gym, listening to how this young 23-year-old has this MLS hack where he's just bringing in a ton of money and revenue in South Florida in a crazy market. So awesome to be connecting with you today.
Yeah, dude, I'm happy to be here, share some good stuff, and let's get some value.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this show, we try to keep it a little bit different than most of your typical real estate investing podcasts. We like to incorporate the why, which we were talking about: people's why, time freedom, lifestyle design, optimizing life, rituals, routines, all that type of good stuff. So we're going to incorporate that in the show. Don't worry, because Raul's going to give some tactical stuff too. But to start off, Raul, could you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now and like what type of numbers and operation you have going in Miami right now, just so people that may have not seen any other podcasts or info on you have a good idea, and then we'll kind of take the interview from there.
Yeah, man. So, all right. So right now we are doing real estate wholesale. So everything wholesale. We bought and fix and flip a couple properties a year, but I don't even count it because it's very little. So really we're doing wholesale on MLS. We're still doing a bunch of MLS and online auctions, things like this. And we're also doing direct mail, some pay-per-click, SEO, stuff like that to generate leads. But all that funnels down into a big wholesale business, pretty much. As far as like more marketing and stuff, we'll probably get into it later. I don't know if you want me to get into it now, but yeah, I mean, our biggest off market like campaign is direct mail. We're sending like 35 to 40,000 postcards a month. And yeah, that's generating leads. And we got 2 leads managers answering the phones, and we're going on appointments, doing like the traditional wholesale model as well, and MLS stuff.
Very cool. I want to unpack that a little bit as we progress. I also want to say, if you guys are listening to this, this will probably get published on iTunes and all the podcasting services in about a week. But Raul just celebrated his 26th birthday. So if you're not watching this for him, Raul just turned 26. So he's a very young guy. Wish Raul a happy belated here, wherever you're seeing this. But also I want to hear about, how are you such a young guy that's had this level of success that most investors don't really reach in general, just numbers wise, because wholesaling or real estate investing, like a lot of other businesses, the failure rate is so high. And even Trevor from Carrot, I remember, sent out an email within the last year or two where I think it was like 87% of wholesalers that start off fail. So how are you here, 26 years old, we're both young Canes fans, living our best lives out here. How are you able to do this, and how'd you get into real estate? I want to hear all about that for the audience.
Well, you didn't hear, I actually won the Powerball, and this is all just a big mess with you. So the question is, how, being young, did I do it? I think in general,
it's also going to be the same question of like how you got into real estate, and then like how were you successful? Because I know even before we were talking off air, you've only been in the business for what, 5 years? You said 5 or 6 years?
5 years.
5 years.
5 years in January. So I guess to answer the question, I was fortunate. I did have a good upbringing. My father was a business guy. My mom was a businesswoman. So I kind of grew up around seeing what it takes to do it, right? Like good work ethic and all this stuff. And I just started young, right? Like out of high school, I knew I had to work. I had plans of like being a doctor, all this stuff, but that kind of went away after a few years of sciences. And I don't know, I always knew in my mind that to be wealthy, to be rich, to have a good business, a good life, you need to work. It's just something that my parents instilled in me, which is great, right? And the good thing about today in the world, to not go on such a tangent. The good thing about today is that there's so many like online mentors, like YouTubers, Instagrammers, real people that are doing real stuff that you can learn from. If you don't have, family that is teaching you these kind of things, that's fine. You could just go on the internet and say, how to be successful on YouTube. And there's thousands of videos that are all credible. Anyways, so I kind of had that upbringing knowing that to be successful, you got to work. So I guess the reason would be just, I had the work ethic, man. And just little by little, I trained myself and my mind to forget so much about failures and use the failures to fail forward. Right. So, I started washing cars at like 16 years old. Then I was a runner. I would take, things to the bank. I was taking clients to sign paperwork for the car business. Then I started selling cars. Then I did online sales. Then I did like finance. So little by little, I started getting into the sales world. And that is like the real university, man. If you go to work at either a car dealership, sell shoes, phones, whatever, that is a real university when you go there and you have to talk and understand people to make money, right? Like literally to make money, to live, to eat. So once I started doing that, it framed my mind like, okay, I got to sell. No matter what I do, I got to sell. I got to speak to people. I got to understand what they want and give it to them in the best way possible and the best price and the best this, the best that. So once you just start training your mind that way, I guess that's how I did it. And then in my mind, I had to failure is not even an option. Like even before I did a deal, I think I hired a VA. Like that's how crazy and stupid I was. But I just knew that I knew I was going to do it. I don't know. I mean, now I can get nerdy and tell you like mentally exactly, the neural pathways that changed. But to make it simple, I just literally knew. In Miami, we say literally a lot. So I knew that I wasn't going to fail. That was the best explanation I can give for that.
I love that, man. And I would love to hear the nerdy neuro pathways of how the brain works, everything like that. But really it does come down to that belief, instilling belief. When you have a movable belief that you're going to accomplish something, most likely than not, you're able to accomplish something. For people that aren't into that nerdy type of stuff, well, I'll give it to you like this. Instilling that belief is doing a lot of the tactical type stuff, hiring a VA, having a goal of listening to 20 hours of wholesaling content per week, per day. Per day you listen to, a couple hours, whatever that may be. Setting up your business cards, everything like that. Everything you do with momentum is building up that belief. And then you already had a business background in your mind, everything like that. And you're absolutely right. We're in the age of information. There was an investor talking at our mastermind who was back investing in 2002 that was looking at properties, driving around with a physical map in his car. Now it's like I'm just on my iPhone. I can go look at properties or go wherever I want to go. Same thing with content on YouTube. You could learn this entire business on YouTube. There's no secrets or anything like that. So that's part of the reason I like this show and the direction that I want to take this show as well, because a lot of this stuff you can just search on YouTube. But what we were talking about before we went on air here is one of the masterminds you're in, the billionaire boardroom. And we were talking about how valuable it is to just chop it up and talk about life and lifestyle and where you want to take this business once you scale. Because once you do it for a while, it's ingrained in you, the KPIs, stuff like that. But this show and what I think that you can provide a lot of value on specifically too, being a young guy that's focused on optimizing his life, everything like that, is those type of conversations that you have with boardroom members about lifestyle design. Like, okay, I have a family. Like, how am I able to allocate time into my business, XYZ, all that type of stuff, which is super, super valuable.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm ready. So yeah, I mean, the lifestyle thing is great, man. This is real estate wholesale thing. I'm sure you guys talk about it with a bunch of investors. If you guys are listening to this, you've heard other people, and it could be lucrative, but you got to put in work. You got to make the sacrifices. 100%.
Mm-hmm. Tell me what that first year was like working. I love that you hired a VA before you even got a deal. Mentally, you burned the boats behind me. You said, all right, not doing any other job. I know I have to sell. You're going to the John Martinez in a little bit here, which is going to be an awesome event. But tell me a little bit about that first year to give people like the real estate tactical side of things. Hired a VA. What else? What other stuff were you doing right when you started off?
All right. So first year, I was still selling cars and doing this kind of like part time to figure it out. And when I when I was about to get my first deal, meaning like I was so close, right? You know when you're close, when you're talking to buyers and sellers and like contracts are being signed. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm done. I quit the car thing. And the first thing I did was, although I was close on deals, the first thing I did was I found a local mentor, a guy that was doing deals in South Florida. I found him through an email blast. You sign up to wholesalers, and on the bottom it said offering mentoring. And I've been seeing his name often and often, and I talked to people who bought houses from him. So I'm like, oh, he's a real guy. So I got local mentor. I didn't have any more money because I spent it all. I bought my first like rental apartment through selling cars and all that stuff. I was living with my mom and all. So I saved money. I bought an apartment. It was $61,000. I had to borrow. I had 40,000 or 42,000 saved. So I have to borrow the rest. I had zero. And so I borrowed $2,500 from my stepdad to pay for this mentoring. I told him, look, as soon as I get a deal, I'm going to pay you back. He's like, yeah, just do it. We'll figure it out later. Not a problem. And so that's the first thing I did. I found a local mentor. He'd teach me like once a month. I'd go to his office. And he just taught me, he was really good. I still do business with him to this day. But he taught me enough to do a deal. And that's all I needed. So in the first year, I focused on basically learning and doing. I have a video of this on my YouTube channel. I talk about like, a lot of people talk about analysis paralysis and learning or whatever. Just focus on two things in life is learning and execution, and you'll be fine. Always, forever. Love that. That's all I focused on my first year. Like, all right, how do I do it? Let me do it. How do I do this? Let me do this. How do I drop a contract? Learn, do it. How do I find a deal? Learn, do it. Learn, do it. Learn, do it. It's really that simple. And my first year, got the local mentor and just focused on doing different things. So I actually started with direct mail. Then one of my like little ninja tricks that I learned was I would go on gosection8.com. I subscribed for an account. I'd put Miami, Florida on the search bar and a bunch of listings would come up. And then what I'd do is I had a generic text. I think I learned this from Joe McCall. I had a generic text and it would say like, hey, I know you have your house listed for rent. You wouldn't be interested in selling, would you? ? And I would just blast text that through Google Voice number. I know I'm going a little fast here, but you can rewind this if anything.
Yeah.
And then through Google Voice number, and I would just do that. And then I had a VA do that eventually for me. And that's how I got my first deal. Nice. So my first year, I was just focused on getting my first deal. It took me about 3 months, but then that's how I got it. And then once I got the first deal, I started learning like MLS. And then that's when I started going really fast and making a ton of offers and talking to people all the time, blah, 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 blah. And then first year after I was bringing some revenue in, I was like, okay, I need some help. And then I got my cousin and his best friend involved. They were like real estate agents and stuff. So to help me with the MLS model. Yeah, man, first year, just learning execution and bringing revenue. Those were like the 3 key points, I would say.
Profit first and learning. I love that.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about this MLS hack that you had going on here to bring in more revenue. And that's a great hack, guys. Do rewind that. You weren't going that fast at all. I probably speak faster than that without realizing it, but definitely go back and listen to that ninja strategy that Raul was going through about going to section8.com and pretty much doing outbound text touches to properties that are advertised for rent or lease, and you're just asking them if they want a cash offer. Just little creative things like that can help, bring in some extra leads for you, especially, if you're a veteran or if you're looking to bring in some more deal flow for your pipeline, who isn't. But,
yeah, it goes a long way.
Absolutely. Tell me a little bit about this MLS hack. Cause like when I was telling you, that's the first podcast when I was at the gym getting shots up, I hear like young guy, 23-year-old with an MLS hack that makes a ton of money. I'm like, all right. I was like, this guy's probably a Canes fan. I'll listen to him while getting some shots up.
Yeah, dude. So I was kind of frustrated, man, because I'd send some mail. I had like some credit card debt sending mail. and I couldn't get a deal. I mean, I was doing everything wrong, but I couldn't get a deal. So I didn't know what to say or anything. But then I had this mentor, and he was like, "Oh, look, you could just get deals off MLS." I'm like, "Oh, but how?" He's like, "Well, I mean, they're for sale. All you got to do is make an offer." And I'm like, my simple little reptilian mind is like, perfect. That's all I know. So I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. And really, so the MLS hack came out of frustration of how can I get deals like right now and without like sending out a bunch of marketing and spending so much money. And so what it is basically just gathering MLS data. So gathering the listings that are in your market or in your target market, and your perfect property avatar. It could be, let's say you're in what market? Where are you living right now, or where are you at?
I'm in Baltimore.
So let's
Maryland.
say you go on the Baltimore MLS, and you're like, all right, I have a ton of buyers that buy 3.2s in Baltimore under 100K, whatever. So you just pull up all those listings on the MLS, and you put them and you just send offers to them. You generate contracts, send offers, generate contracts, send offer, generate contracts, send offer. Then you follow up with the agents and you do everything kind of systematically to be really good. But in a really simple form, just get your target market, your property avatar, send them offers. And that's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, there's little follow-up systems and things you can do better and autoresponders, but it all just starts with some offers. They're already listed for sale. They're already motivated. Some are more motivated than others, but how I explain it to some of the investors, like in the mastermind and stuff, when they're like MLS, and these are big time guys doing 200, 300 deals a year, all off market, and for me that's crazy. I'm like, why don't you just incorporate some MLS? You'll do a bunch of deals. He's like, but I don't understand. And I just tell him, like, man, all it is get the properties that are listed. What happened is that, Keller Williams or Kai's Realty or Coldwell Bankers send a piece of mail to these people. And so did you. But they just chose Kai's or Keller Williams because they're a trusted brand to list their house instead of selling to you. It's really all that happened. So why let these go to waste when we can still buy them? Yeah, there's an agent in the middle, but I can show you guys how to make money on that by just getting the commission, and you can still do deals. So yeah, man, basically the MLS hack is getting properties that are on the MLS, systemizing a way to make offers, and just make a bunch of offers and then follow up and try to put them under contract.
Mm-hmm. I think it starts top of funnel with the mindset that you said, because you said that if they're on the MLS, they want to sell. So they want me to send them an offer. When you talk to some of these people in mastermind, and that's the majority of people that I speak with as well, they don't even touch MLS or anything. If there's even the slightest whiff of that the seller may take a listing or the property's listed, they like back off.
Yeah.
So I think it kind of starts mindset there. Follow-up is huge. Any sales industry, follow-up is absolutely huge. When you talk to somebody, I mean, and maybe these MLS offers, they are waiting for offers, but regardless in any sales industry, the follow-up is absolutely huge, because a lot of the times on the very first touch with someone, it's more of like an inquiry, or they're not ready to sell right then and there. So the follow-up is huge. I would ask anything specifically when you're setting up these MLS searches. Are there any specific filters that you would add on there? Like maybe staying away from properties that have been listed for a certain amount of days, or any type of thing like that for people that listen to this episode and want to start making offers on MLS properties?
At this point, since we're just going for scale, we kind of make offers on every type of property. But I would say if you're getting started, start with what your buyers are buying, right? I wouldn't recommend doing MLS if you haven't done a deal yet. If you're like completely new, which is fine, everyone starts completely new. I wouldn't start on MLS because you're dealing with, a real estate agent, a broker, an attorney on the other side. So they're professional, they're going to want proof of funds, and they're going to want you to know what you're talking about. However, let's say you've done a couple deals you have under your belt, you have a real estate license. Find out exactly what your buyers are buying, and then just find that avatar, right? If they're buying 3.2s under 100, like I mentioned, I'm sure that there might be 50 listings. Make an offer on all 50. Even if you're 30, 40,000 under list price, doesn't matter. Make the offer, get the negotiation started. You'd be shocked. I mean, we've gotten deals 80,000 under MLS price, 60,000 under MLS price. People want offers, and cash offers have high leverage, and there's very little real people making cash offers. You know, you will find a big chunk of people who are making offers and not going through with them. So if you're a legitimate person, you have buyers ready to buy, this could be a good way to capitalize. Just go shopping for them on the MLS.
For
I don't know
sure.
if that answers it.
No, that's very, very helpful. And that's kind of what it is. The last sentence that you said, that's almost the service that you're doing for them. Like these end buyers that are buying properties cash, you're pretty much shopping for them. Almost like I have to do Christmas shopping this week on Amazon.
Yeah.
You're essentially just shopping for them online on the MLS, going through and trying to find what they like, giving them on a plate, saying whether they like it or not.
Right.
Two last questions on the MLS hack.
Yeah.
One, I was going to ask, some people are probably going to ask, whether it's beginners, people that want to get into making some offers on the MLS, what is that progress like once you do get a deal under contract and there's an agent involved? Are you assigning most of those still to a cash buyer? And the second, like, I guess part two of that question is any type of advice working with an agent, like any type of relationship advice, maybe some sales psychology type stuff that's been successful for you since you've done so many of these deals.
Gotcha. So as far as like the psychology part, we'll start there. You always have to have a you and me, you know, together make the deal kind of mindset. Let me explain. So, right? So let me explain. Let's say let's say it's me and my company's RB Finance, whatever, and I'm making offers for me. The model we use is, let's say I'm the agent. I'm still the agent because I want to claim that commission, right? We don't give the agent 6%. We take 3 and 3. Okay. So the best is to actually have somebody make the offers for you. But let's say you're new and you're just you, right? You have your license. I would say I'd put Raul Bolufe as an agent on the contract. And the goal is to always tell the agent, hey, look, my buyer, you're always representing a buyer. It's a little more challenging if it's just you. I'd put the buyer's name in an LLC. I'd probably put on your, on the corporate docs, maybe somebody else, something. So like if the agent searches online, the company, it's not you're the agent and the owner of the company. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's always like a you and me trying to get this done mentality. If I make the offer, it's listed for 100 and I make the offer for 80, okay? The agent's gonna come back and say, oh, it's like my client says it's too low. And then I would say, oh man, my client like really loves this property. He wants to get it done. I know it's a little low, but he closes and he's cash. What do you think we have to do? I could be flexible on terms. You want me to do a better closing date? What can we do? Oh, well, if you could do a quicker closing date, maybe we could do 87. It's like, okay, boom, you and me together, right? I'm not the buyer and he's not the seller. We're two agents trying to make this work in conjunction, right? So that's kind of the psychology. And then if you have someone else working for you, which is how I'd recommend doing it, get a new agent, tell them, look, this is how you're going to make offers. Make a simple spreadsheet and say, hey, analyze all these 50 listings, put the numbers on the spreadsheet. At these numbers, make the offers. And if they call you, say that, your client is interested in buying it. So if someone's working for you, you train them to say, hey, my client is really interested in the property. Hey, my client, like, what do I got to do to make this happen? I've been working with my client for years. He buys a bunch of properties. Like, I know he's not the highest, but like, what can we do together to make it done? Should I, get a faster closing date? What price do we have to do? You want me to shorten the inspection period, higher escrow, et cetera, et cetera. You work with them, that's how agents negotiate. It's not so much like finding out motivation and stuff. It's more terms and specifics. That's why it's hard for newbies or newer people to do it, because it's things that you have to understand once you're in the business for a little while.
Mm-hmm. That's very valuable, I think, even just hearing somebody walk through the psychology and mindset and kind of both approaches to doing that. Yeah. I think that's going to be very helpful for people just to hear it from someone that's successful doing it. One question I have stemming from that too, before I kind of move on the path of your real estate journey after year one, is when you're working with these agents, do you find yourself doing repeat business with them, or is it kind of like one-off transaction? So if you're able to do a good deal with an agent there, and you have whether it's you solo or someone on your team at this point, I'm sure you have someone making offers for you.
Right.
But do you find yourself doing repeat business with them because the transaction was so successful? And maybe that's even something that's scalable if the answer to that was yes.
Yeah, definitely a lot of repeat business, a lot of it. So just be honest, be truthful. If things are off timeline or whatever, make sure you communicate with them. Communication with these agents is huge because it's not it's not a homeowner. This agent, this is their business, so they want to be treated like is their business. So if inspection ends tomorrow and you still haven't been to the property, tell them, hey, I'm a little late, can we extend it one day, whatever. So yeah, to answer your question, there is a lot of repeat business. Actually, the biggest wholesale deal I ever got was through a repeat real estate agent. That it was even before it was listed. He's like, hey, we've done 3 deals together, I have this listing coming up before I put it on the market, check it out. I'm like, perfect, let's do it. And that's how it happened. So yeah, definitely a lot of repeat business. And that's the reason we've probably been in business for such a long time. We've been good to these agents. We give them, gifts and this and that, and we just treat them well. We just are honest about it, and we get more deals.
That's awesome, guys. That's applicable for any type of relationship you have in this business or whatever business you happen to be in, is relationship building and just being humane with people. That's how everybody is. And if they remember you, it will stick out. We've talked about this on some episodes before. I like to have the mindset. I think I've always had it, but I've kind of honed in on it more recently, is like when I meet with someone or have an interaction like this meeting today, you were gracious enough to help me out with your time. Kind of how I operate is like any meeting that I have with someone, I want that to be the most memorable meeting they had that day. Like for whatever reason, like making them laugh, making them feel good, providing value, a mixture of all three, hopefully. But I like to have that and being able to provide value and build relationships like that. So that's super important. And then compound effect, you keep doing that. Raul was able to do that deal after deal, a high success rate of, with the transaction closing on good terms between him and the agent, all parties involved. That's how he's been able to scale his business up. Part of the reason he's been able to scale his business up so successfully at a young age.
Right. I like that.
Cool, man. Let's keep progressing here past year one. We can kind of finish up kind of like your real estate career. And then we can kind of get to, I'm curious too, I want to poke into what you have going on YouTube, and maybe you can give me like a little preview of what you have going on there. And then we can talk a little bit about daily rituals, stuff like that, and what a typical day in the life of Raul looks like right now.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I mean, so the YouTube thing, I started probably like 6 months ago now. And I just reached like 140 subscribers. So I'm happy about that. I know people have like millions, but I'm like, 100, let's get it. They say that your first 100 is the hardest. So I'm kind of happy about that. Anyway, nice. So YouTube has helped me a lot, man. And I think for people who are always learning, or people who are doing business or trying to improve themselves, podcasts and YouTube is like huge, man. I see some of this free content. I'm like, damn, they just gave that for free. Like that helps big time. Anyways, so I wanted to, pay it forward. I've progressed a lot because of podcasts and YouTube, and especially YouTube because I like the entertainment aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you know what, let me pay it forward and do my own thing. And basically the idea is I'm doing it kind of like vlog style. I'm on a mission to grow like a really good wholesale company. I want to get to 3 million net next year. That's a pretty big goal. And I'm kind of documenting the journey, right? And it's like one of my things is I want to show how it really is to run a real company in real estate investing, wholesale, real deals, real marketing, real tools, like all that stuff. I want to show it on camera. And so I have like a video there of like us in an appointment. I have my camera guy like kind of hide, and live negotiations right there in the house, right? And that we got it and made $30,000 profit. So it's showing it live, how it happened, what the postcard was that the guy got, what the conversation looked like, me on the phone with the guy, then getting the contract signed, like all that stuff. I have like team meetings. Like we had our quarterly meeting a few months ago, and I had our guy go in and film it. What a real team meeting looks like, right? In a quarterly meeting. Then, I have like mock negotiations with with one of my guys practicing, training. So things like that, it's valuable for people who actually want to see what it's like, right? And it's somewhat entertaining, but I like to put a lot of value out there. So yeah, that's the YouTube stuff. I'm trying to grow that and build a following. My goal with that is I want to get it big. I want to provide value, mainly because I wanted to open up opportunities for me and the company to kind of be able to interview or interact with some really high level people, collaborate. I love that stuff. I think it's super cool. Like all these big time YouTubers collaborate with each other. Grant Cardone has like power players, and he has interviews with Frank Kern and Ty Lopez and, Russell Brunson. And like, I want to get to that point that I'm able to, kind of call them and say, hey, let's collab, and, they'll take the call pretty much.
That's awesome, man. I'm definitely going to subscribe as soon as we got off here. I know that we just followed each other on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, in a way, similar to marketing. People this day and age right now, it's like that's how they consume content. Videos, Instagram, quick videos, or they go to YouTube if they want longer videos, things like that. And it is entertaining. So to provide that value and to be able to throw like that wide net, it's a very smart move to start a vlog or some type of YouTube thing. That's part of the reason why we started the podcast, is so many people listen to podcasts these days, especially real estate investors. And the podcast has been our podcast is new. I've been interviewing people for almost 2 years now, but it's became a podcast the last like 3-6 months or so. But it's the same way on our end too. It's just picking up a ton of steam.
Yeah.
I'll definitely subscribe to that. The quarterly meeting, man, I love that type of stuff as far as like, it's just such an overhead look at your business, and then it's all collabing on goals and objectives and projects and stuff like that. And we're doing a lot of stuff internally at InvestorFuse like that. We're actually changing our goal setting system to OKRs. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where it's objectives and key results.
Okay.
It's a cool book like that, but we're changing it from kind of like a standard. We were doing meetings out of like the book Traction, kind of that type of rhythm. But I'd love to check out your quarterly review meeting.
Yeah, we do a mix of like Traction. There's this book called Drive. And we're kind of doing like a combination of that. It's pretty cool. It just shows how to collab with your team. And because I'm sure for everyone who's starting a real estate investing company or any business or wholesale, whatever, they need a team. You can't do it by yourself. I haven't done this by myself. I've always had a team, amazing people around me to help get there. And it's so important, man. I think people don't talk about it enough, to be honest. Meetings. And once you have a team, like I do meetings like every week, all the time. And I wish people would have showed me like how to do it. It took me a little while to learn how to, do like a good meeting.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. I'd love to hear about it. And like, I agree. They're super valuable. If you're not having a weekly meeting just to discuss projects and what's going on, maybe your deal pipeline, looking at leads. I get so fired up when I hear of companies that just get on weekly meetings and go through like the hottest opportunities or leads they have, stuff like that. But dude, floor is yours. Tell me everything about that. I'm going to check out your YouTube video of that on the quarterly planning meeting too.
Yeah. So we do like a big team meeting we do it Tuesdays now, every Tuesday. And basically we go over, actually I have a little layout of it right here, piece of paper.
Is there a reason to do it? Is there a reason you do it on Tuesdays before you get into it?
Mondays, we saw that it was always our busiest MLS day. So the team meeting, and after the team meeting, I do one-on-ones with like our key guys. So basically it's like the whole day of meetings, and we didn't want to ruin that Monday because it was so productive, so we just shifted it to Tuesday.
Very cool. The one-on-one meetings are interesting too. So let's segue into that as well.
I'm going to go into that now. So weekly meetings, I start with, I have it here as good shit. It's literally as good shit. Anyways, it's like a 30-minute meeting, and I start with good things, and I point out specific people who did good things. So for instance, I had here that it was the first week that our 2 leads managers were completely on their own with no training, etc. So I'll go over good things like, hey, Johnny got this deal under contract, it's a home run deal, this guy went on 10 appointments this week, et cetera, et cetera. We point out who did some of the good stuff in the week. Then we go over our quarterly stuff, our quarterly goals. Hey, we want to reach X amount of income this month or this quarter. Hey, we want to do X amount of deals. We want, X amount of appointments. Whatever your quarterly goals are, we go over that. Then I have what's called like looking forward. So it's kind of like, all right, what are the things happening in the business? What are the things that we're looking forward to in this upcoming quarter, this upcoming month, etc. So for instance, I had there that, me and Lewis, which is my COO, we've been meeting a lot to come up with kind of a new bonus structure for our team. So basically, so you guys can make more money. So that's one of those things I explained. Hey, looking forward, me and Lewis are working really hard to come up with a new bonus structure for you guys. Hey, looking forward, we are finding a way to get more off-market leads, etc. So we have that. Then we go over our numbers, KPIs. We have a big screen TV on the conference room. And then I'll usually either play like a 5-minute video that I found on YouTube that either inspires me or it's good about business. I'll play like a lot of Grant Cardone, or the guy from Valuetainment, stuff like that. I'll play like a 5-minute video for everyone to kind of see that, and then kind of go from there. So that's like our big team meeting every Tuesday. Then after that, I'll do one-on-ones, 30-minute one-on-ones with like, the top, MLS manager. I'll do it with like the off-market, off-market manager, stuff like that. And basically, I learned this in the mastermind. When doing one-on-ones or doing any meeting, to make it a good meeting, you as the president, owner, or the one running the meeting, you really have to just shut up and listen and ask strategic questions. That's kind of, I think, something that happens to a lot of people. It's like, we want to talk, right? Especially if you're the owner, like, how to solve it. If they're asking you about a deal, like, how to solve it. But when you really become a good leader is when you let them solve it, So for an example, in the one-on-one meeting, we'll say, okay, what were some challenges you had last week? Oh, I made 30 offers and only got, 10 responses. Instead of saying, oh, try this, this, and this, I would say, how can you change that so it could be better for next week? Let them answer. Let's say they answer, well, I can send more text messages. I would say, what would you put on the text messages? You understand? Like, I already know the answer, but I'm letting him figure it out. That's becoming a good leader. That is holding a good meeting. So I do these one-on-ones on Tuesday. So really Tuesday is like, I'm booked all day from 10 a.m. to like 7 p.m. It's literally just straight meetings. And yeah, that's that. And then we'll do the quarterly, and then we'll do a yearly with just me and the COO.
Very cool. I love the structure that you have there with the one-on-ones. And I like how your team meeting, it incorporates the wins. It's what I have in my weekly planner too. The very first thing is you kind of just go through and rehash wins from the past week to gain a little momentum. And that's how you start off before analyzing projects and KPIs, everything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like to start stuff with some of the good things that happen. Even if nothing good happened, I like to let them it's always important to have good things in your mind, like something good happened, right? On the one-on-one, same kind of structure. I start with, what are the good things? What are some challenges you had last week? How can you solve it? Deadlines to solve it. And then KPIs. What were your numbers last week? And basically, I do very little talking. I'm asking these questions and they're answering. I'm writing down, and then I elaborate on that answer, kind of like how I said a little bit earlier.
Very cool. And you just follow up. Do you have some type of follow-up for the next meeting or next actions to go back?
So I put it in a piece of paper, and I wonder if I have one here. I'll try to find one. A little piece of paper, and I keep it in a folder per person. And then so the next time they walk in tomorrow, let's say Tuesday, I'll bring out the paper and I'll say, okay, last week your challenges were X, Y, Z, and your solutions were this. How did that go? Oh, it did work. It didn't work. Blah, blah, blah. And then we'll elaborate from there.
Very cool. Yeah, that's something that we're trying to do internally with the objectives and key results model of goal setting too, where it's a lot of transparency, and almost every department or every project affects some other aspect of the company,
right,
in some way, shape, or form. So that's what we're kind of configuring now in Asana, the project management workspace, to get everything set up so that we can be rock and roll with that January 1, and also have a similar meeting structure. Where each department, it's going to be broken down a little bit more, I think. Well, I guess that's kind of what you do. You're meeting with department managers, but I think we're going to have it set up where like department managers are meeting with, one-on-ones in that specific department, but same page here.
Exactly. Yeah. At first, I forgot where I read it or what podcast I listened to this on, but they said that the first 10 people in your company are the most important. And that's usually why people don't get past $3 million in a company. $1 to $3 million are usually about 10 people. Then to go from 3 million to 100 million is a lot easier than to go from 1 to 3.
Really?
And they say that the first 10 people are the most important. So having one-on-ones with them consistently is going to drive that growth a lot more organically. So I forgot where I listened to. I think it was, there's this podcast called by Reid Hoffman. What's it called, man? I'll remember it later on. It's by Reid Hoffman, and he interviews Zuckerberg, and Reid Hoffman is one of the founders of LinkedIn. And man, I wish I could, not built to scale, how to scale, scaling, something like that. Mm-hmm. And he talks about that. He interviews, and I heard it from a couple different companies, like huge companies. They say, oh, like the first 10 people is crucial. Do one-on-ones with them. I'm like, okay, done.
The 10 people under you, or are you including that 10?
10 people under you.
Okay, 10 people under you. That's super interesting. I love hearing that. I'm going to make sure I have that quote there clipped up after this. And that was one thing I was going to ask you as you were saying that. You're very sage with the importance that you put on leadership and leadership style and quality, everything like that. So I was going to ask what type of influences you had on that. We're both young guys relatively, but you're way beyond your years as far as having importance on leadership. So I was going to ask, so you mentioned that podcast, probably some other pieces of content.
Yeah, man. Just a lot of reading. I think the biggest thing for me, everyone's a little different. I noticed I'm pretty good at like mirroring successful people. I think it's just because I am very simple. I'm not so smart. So it's like,
same here.
Yeah, I'm not so smart. So it's like, all right, Grant Cardone does team meetings every day. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Right? I don't even think about it, So, or if someone has the result I want and they do X thing, I'm just gonna do X thing, and then I'll put my twist on it, but I'll do it. So I guess to answer your question, the best way that I've kind of gained some kind of like leadership, rules or principles are hanging around other leaders. That's why the boardroom or mastermind is so awesome, because, you just talk to people who own companies and you get their styles. Like, oh, my employee told me this. What would you say? And he'll tell you, and you'd be like, oh, why? Oh, that makes sense. And then you go vice versa, and then you learn. And it's like, oh, that's awesome. Reading books, just being smart, knowing your industry inside and out, knowing your business inside and out, knowing exactly what to do in each part of your business, I think is huge. Like no one can tell you, for instance, no one can tell me how to do MLS software because I did it for years. No one can tell me how to do appointments because I've done it. Like doing that, I think is a big leadership thing. You lead by example, right? It's like, I can still go on appointments and I still make offers, right? Like I can do it. And I think that's a huge leadership trait, especially when you're starting off.
Going out there and being in the trenches to show your team around that you're willing to do everything too.
Right.
And that's invaluable too. We were talking earlier. It's invaluable when you're able to hang out with mentors and stuff like that, or just successful people that you want to emulate or be like. That's the same thing with reading books. Reading books is kind of like having a mentor. It's not the same exact thing, but your brain still kind of soaks that up in the same way, and it does change your behavior. Hanging out with people that you want to emulate or reading about people that you want to emulate changes your behavior.
Yeah.
And it's like how you mentioned you had the line earlier of your reptilian brain, where it's kind of like a dumb, it was made for like your survival and instinct, but you can always use that to your advantage. And we both said, I'm not the smartest guy. There's other podcast hosts that have way more real estate experience, stuff like that. But I think me and you both have that same principle or same strategy of just emulating what other successful people do and then purposely programming it into our head. So it's almost like on autopilot, which segues into, I wanted to ask you what you do I wanted to ask you kind of like your typical day, but also your routines that you have on a day that help you be successful.
Yeah, man. The morning thing is huge. I read the book, The Miracle Morning, a bunch of times, I think like 3 times. Great book. And I just kind of follow those principles. I mean, you could change it up and you put a little twist on it. So, I wake up, I'll meditate for like 10 minutes. I have an app, Simple Habit. I'll put some headphones in, go on my balcony and meditate. Then I'll write down kind of like the affirmations the way that it says it in the book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically why I do this, what I want, who I'm committed on becoming, and what am I doing to get there. For 10 minutes, I'm writing all that down. Then I'll write down for about like 5 minutes what I'm grateful for. Then I'll hit the gym and listen to a book. Then I'm coming to the office. That's kind of like the morning ritual. Then here, it's kind of depends, for instance, Tuesdays is meetings. Mondays I might have different meetings, or, Mondays I might be recording videos, or et cetera, et cetera. So it's hard. Like once I get to the office, it changes, but basically once I'm here, I'm working, I'm doing something for the company. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was on that same principle, just emulate. I got recommended. I did all that stuff like sporadically, like I'd meditate or read or write my gratitude or write my goals out, but didn't have any structure to it. So I was the same way. I researched like what's the best what's the best morning routine book. I found that. I did that for like 2.5, 3 years. And I've talked about this on previous episodes, but I've kind of organically like simplified it. And I think I'm going to ramp it back up to more Miracle Morning style, where I have like 5 or 6 things that I do regimen in a row. But that's absolutely huge. That influences your whole day. And same thing, like I'm a big compound effect guy. So when you can take a step back, and even if you're doing your quarterly review, I have a whole annual calendar in my bedroom downstairs, but I can see like that whole thing. And I love just looking at the 365 days. Like that just gives me great perspective every single day. So when I'm in the morning, I look at like what date we're on, and I kind of just see, okay, I'm like, this is the 365 days. That gives me perspective. But compounding, when you're able to do that morning routine compounded, you're really programming your behavior to do these certain things, and you can apply that to your business as well.
Yeah. That's awesome. I like that calendar idea. I just got a board for my kind of like, I have like a little home office. I was thinking, what am I going to put on there? But I think a calendar would be a great idea.
Dude, I've loved it. I got a dry erase one off Amazon for like $40 or something like that. But I have, the bottom is Q4. So right now it's 2018 Q4. And then I have 2019 Q1, 2, and 3 already planned out. So I already have like some travel I'm doing next year, all that kind of stuff. And it's just super powerful. This is how my brain works. Like I like kind of like the overhead. So It's powerful to try to get the most out of every single day and also stay organized. It's really powerful.
Yeah, man. And also read my goals and kind of like my mission purpose every day. That I have like a little closet door, and I have them on the closet door. So every day that I go to get dressed, I have to see it. Yeah. And I just read it. And I know you wanted to get into some of like the brain nerdy stuff, and basically the reprogramming of the neural pathways is the best way that it's been able to be done is through tons of repetition. Mm-hmm. After a lot of the research I've done, I see the only way to kind of change your behavior subconsciously is tons of repetition. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of things you can do, like go to sleep listening to recordings, or constantly be reading, or et cetera, et cetera. But really all that boils down to is a bunch of repetition, right? The more you tell yourself that this is going to happen or this happened, the higher likelihood it will happen, So I read it every day, 2-3 times a day. And that helps in the mornings, man, because it helps you just get clear. The more clear you are, the better.
Mm-hmm. Love it, man. And that's a Grant Cardone thing too. He's even said in a study, don't quote me exactly on this, guys, but it's somewhere in like the 40% range. Like people that write down their goals consistently compounded are like 40% more likely to hit those type of goals. And Grant Cardone does a similar exercise too, writing his goals for 20 minutes every single morning.
Yeah.
I've heard him post and talk about. So that's awesome, man. To get to know you a little better and the audience a little better, tell me a little bit about your mission statement in life and your why. Like when you're sitting down in the morning, what are these reasons that you have? You're 26, have this big business, have a goal of being at $3 million net, helping people, everything like that. Tell me a little bit about why and some insight on you.
Yeah, that's good, man. And believe it or not, it was kind of challenging at first because I don't have kids, a wife, or, thank God, like my family's good. I don't really have to like support them, so to speak. So if you think about that, it's kind of like a challenge. Like, so what do you work for? To make money and to live good. So that's why I like the YouTube and all that stuff. So basically, to answer your question, something I always have is like, I want to live like the life of my dreams, which is kind of like do say, travel, kind of like do what you want, when you want, with whom. And the reason I want that for myself is because if I do that, and I document it, I can then inspire other people to do the same for them. And that's kind of like my why. It's like, all right, you know, right now I don't have any offspring or anything. That's a shitty way to call a kid, but whatever. You guys know what I mean. I don't have anything, but probably I will in the future. Well, the story is like, if I do it for me and then I document it and I can show people how to do it, that is a good why. You know, I feel like if I just help some people understand that this is the way that we should live. Us as humans, we deserve a life. If we're born and we're alive, we deserve the life that we want to live. So if I can show people, I think that's really awesome. So in order for me to show people, I need to do it. So that, like, you know, compels me to do it. Kind of like what Tony Robbins says, like, I'm not, you know, when he's on stage 12 hours, it's not, he's pushing himself. He's being pulled to do it because his like desire to help everybody is so strong that he's being like pulled. So it's like you're pulled to go to work, pulled to go to the office. Like, you know, on Friday, I was here till like 9 p.m. making videos. It's not, I wasn't pushing myself to do it. It's like, I was being pulled to do it. I know that the more subscribers, the more people I can get in front of and talk to, I can change one more person. That's fucking awesome, you know? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like my big why, and kind of like time is valuable. So just do as much as possible, create this life ASAP, you know, like don't wait, create this ASAP so you can enjoy it and then help other people.
Absolutely love that, man. I am similarly aligned with that why myself. So that's awesome to hear. 2019, man, we've already talked a little bit about it. What do you have going on 2019? We'll kind of put a bow on this thing.
2019, the biggest thing for the company is I want to grow the team. So we started buying in 2 counties always since I started. Then I got into third county this year. And actually in the last month, we've gotten into 2 more counties. So basically more people. When I say counties, because we're making offers on MLS there. So I'm trying to grow the team. I'm actually trying to figure out a way that kind of create some kind of like Uber style workforce, meaning how can I get realtors to work part-time on our platform, making offers for us with the proper education, of course, making offers for us, and they can earn like an extra income. So we just started like mapping out how that looks and all that. And something that I want to launch next year and kind of do some campaigns and be able to help some realtors out, make some extra money at the same time, be able to enter more markets and consistently, be effective. So yeah, for the company next year, man, just want to grow, hire some more people, and grow the YouTube thing. I have a goal to have 150,000 subscribers by end of next year. I have 100, so I have a lot of work to do.
like 100xing that. I love that. And I'll be glad to share your YouTube on this interview and on our pages as well.
Appreciate that, man.
A lot of value, man. Well, dude, this has been an awesome interview. I definitely got some inspiration here the last 2 weeks of the quarter for things to shoot for. I'll read what it says there on your chalkboard. Thank you for business. I love that. I don't know if that's for team meeting stuff or.
I think. Oh no, yeah. So I made a video to put on our email campaign to all of our buyers, like, thank you for your business this year and all that stuff. So yeah, that was my little blackboard thing there.
Gotcha, man. Yeah, I'll have to send an annual calendar your way.
Yeah, that'd be dope, man.
Cool, dude. Well, guys, thank you for checking in. I'm going to have in the show notes here, whether you guys are watching this on YouTube or on the podcast app or iTunes, Stitcher, wherever, I'll put a link to Raul's YouTube channel. And then we just followed each other on Instagram. I'm at itslos21. And I also help manage the InvestorFuse Instagram at InvestorFuse. And then Raul's Instagram, I'll put that in the show notes as well, is just at Raul Bolufe, RAULBOLUFE. So check him out on there. Any other best way to get in touch with you, man?
Dude, that's it, man. Instagram. I'm also on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. So at Raul Bolufe find social, you guys can reach out.
Awesome, man. As always, very appreciative how you choose to live your life, man. Like I said, I got some serious motivation here. I'll be down with the family for Christmas, but I'll be doing some end of the year review on myself and critiquing to my 2019 stuff. So I appreciate the inspiration boost you've given me today and in the future. And obviously your time today for the podcast episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It was good to connect. And if I don't speak to you then, happy holidays, happy New Year, everyone. Merry Christmas. And yeah, man, it's just a new year, new problems, new solutions. So time to get it.
Love it, man. Can't spell Raul Bolufe without the U. Catch you guys on an episode soon.
All right, man. Thank you, dude.